Hi, I'm just sharing this. Jeremy Corbyn and Noam Chomsky won the Peace Prize amid media silence, and this was 2 years ago, almost to the day, 10th of December, 2017, and it was the Sean McBride Peace Prize, and the Labour leader was recognised for his sustained and powerful political work for disarmament and peace. And it is very important that politicians, especially leaders of countries like Britain, are actually standing there for peace, for human rights, and aren't just going to casually accept that, oh yeah, Zionist Israeli government, they have a right to ignore the law, to go and oppress and persecute and steal off the Palestinian people, to deny their rights even to exist as a nation, to force them to live in a series of ghetto islands surrounded by Israeli military checkpoints. That's okay. When it isn't, because the occupied territories in Palestine are illegal. They are illegal settlements. Because, as I've repeatedly said, nowhere on this planet, can, like I and a group of friends, for example, go and buy all the properties up in a small village, say, in France, and then claim that that village now belongs to Great Britain because we're British. It just doesn't happen. So even if Israeli people do go and move into Palestinian areas, how can they claim that that area now belongs to Israel? It's absolutely outrageous. And once you get, that is the whole point why we have the law, you see, why we have law. Recognised legal boundaries, because once those boundaries are ignored and ridden roughshod over, that's when you've lost order. That's when you're moving into chaos, you see, because you've accepted a crime, you're supporting the criminals, and there is a lot of confusion around Jews and Israel and what's anti-Semitic. You see, I support Israel as an entity. I don't like it. I don't like the way it was established, but it's there and children have been born there, and I understand that Israel is not full of Zionists. I understand that there's a very lot of people who are living in Israel. Not all of them are Jewish. Not all of them, there's Muslims, Christians, various factions of Judaic faiths established in Israel, people of different ethnicities, various ethnicities. There's a lot of people in Israel who are being oppressed by this Zionist government, but nobody speaks out for them, okay? It's like the whole world just assumes that the whole of Israel is 100% Zionist and behind this Zionist government, when it isn't. It is like, for example, if the whole world just assumes that the whole of Britain is Tory, we all stand with Boris Johnson, when we don't. We are, within our own nation, struggling against the likes of Boris Johnson, just as the people of Israel are struggling against the Zionist government that is oppressing Palestine. And we do need to call them out. And it isn't anti-Semitic to say, oi, get back into your own borders. Palestine is a nation. You respect their borders. And we cannot forget that Israel, as a nuclear power, because let's face it, all the evidence supports the fact that Israel has a cache of what amount to illegal, because they're non-disclosed nuclear weapons. So you've got a nuclear power oppressing and persecuting a defenceless nation that has literally got nothing apart from a few what amount to really antiquated rockets that are actually ineffective. But meanwhile, Israel, at the slightest opportunity, even creating opportunities for itself, is there bombing Palestine, mostly Gaza, with the latest high-tech bombs and weaponry. At any moment, their army will move into Gaza and start killing people because they've had some information about something somewhere. An entire family was murdered, children, just a few weeks ago, because they'd received intel that there was a terrorist group in this house. Oh, and then they said they thought the house was empty, so why were they bombing it then? I mean, this is a terrible situation that the Palestinian people are living in. And we as a nation we need to address it, because we were involved as a nation in the development of Israel. And we've been directly involved in the nation as continually supporting the Zionists and putting their side of the story as if it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, when it just isn't. There are borders. The Israelis have crossed those borders. And not just in Palestine. We're talking about the Lebanon, we're talking about Syria, we're talking about Iraq. All part of the Greater Israel Project. That is what is going on. Jeremy Corbyn and other people in this world who've spoken out against Zionist crimes that are not anti-Semitic. Because the law exists for a reason, for the purpose, that we respect the law, because otherwise we get chaos. And just freedom for criminal madness, to the extent that children are incarcerated, children are being shot dead, disabled people, paramedics, the reporters. It is outrageous. I mean, there's the BDS movement. I don't even support the BDS movement because I don't support sanctions. Because I know there's a lot of good people in Israel who will suffer through those sanctions. And I know that there's a lot of people in Israel who support Palestinian people. And if there's sanctions against the Israeli people, the Palestinian people are going to suffer as well. So all we can do is cut off diplomatic dealings with them. Cancel, prohibit the Israel lobby. It needs to be prohibited, because we're talking about an illegal nuclear power that's got its hands right in our government and is controlling them. Netanyahu, a mass murderer, a criminal. He's a criminal. He's overstepped his borders. They were given borders, you stay in them. You don't get extra special rights because you're very rich and you've got a lot of weapons. And you believe you should have the whole of Palestine when you shouldn't. You were given this land. But you see, criminals, that's what they do. If you give them an inch, they will take a mile. Well, you've got your inch, Israel. You will stay within your inch. Because you are not... The occupied territories are Palestinian. If Jewish people want to stay in those territories, then they will learn to live in peace with the Palestinian people whose lands they have moved into. But those lands do not become Israeli just because Jewish settlers have gone to live there. Just as in the same way as if I went to America and bought a piece of land, that land does not become Britain. Britain is not going to send its tanks and military to defend my British territory within America. It's absolute madness, and we cannot tolerate it. Our planet cannot afford it. We can't afford these wars. We just can't. We can't afford these corporate criminals and their waste. You know, they waste everything. They waste our planet. They waste human life. They create waste, deprivation, degradation. That's what they profit from. That's what they feed from. They've got appetites, criminal appetites, for women and children mostly. How are they going to get their hands a regular supply of children? Don't forget, child abuse, organised child abuse, is a multi-billion global industry. It's an industry. There's a market. There's a high demand. People pay a lot of money for images, for videos, for access to children. How are they going to get their hands on that many children and satisfy that level of demand without poverty, without misery, without deprivation? We've got to understand what we're feeding here, what's hiding behind the scenes. Because it's not just about getting large amounts of money funneled into tax havens. It's about the power and control that that money gives, and how you can live above the law once you have that much money and power. That needs to end. Jeremy Corbyn is a man standing there to end it. And that's why for this election we need to abandon the labels, the traditional label of Tory, Conservative, Lib Dem or Labour. What we need to look at is criminal, Conservatives, Lib Dem, criminal complicits, or Labour, human beings standing up for law and order. It's that simple. It is that simple. And I'll leave my recent video, which is explaining to people on the higher income brackets of Britain of why it is in their best interest to vote for Labour, even though they're being scaremongered about, oh well, you'll have to pay a few thousand extra in taxes a year. I've explained in no uncertain terms you'll be losing way, way, way more income under Boris Johnson than you ever could under Jeremy Corbyn. And actually, you will, as much as you might be paying extra out in taxes, you'll be earning back because of a superior quality health service, because of free education, because of cheaper, more efficient transport, in just so many ways. You won't be having to deal with a falling pound, falling house property values, a banking and building society bailing. You see? So it is very, very important that people erase this image now that's been media portrait of Jeremy Corbyn as some kind of Stalinist, fascist, communist, anti-Semite who hates rich people. And no, what Jeremy Corbyn supports is what the people of World War II established in Britain, which is democratic socio-capitalism. Okay? DSC, democratic socio-capitalism. A fair society. Yes, there will be still rich people. Yes, there will still be poor people. Yes, there will still be a middle class. But nobody will be destitute, and nobody will be a multi-billionaire. Does anybody really have a right to become a multi-billionaire and live above the law and have power to buy politicians? No, they don't. No, they don't. And yeah, I think Britain needs to question the nature of the Israel lobby. I think we need to prohibit it. Like I say, I don't support sanctions against Israel through BDS and things, because I understand, like I say, that Israeli people support Palestinian people as well. I care about children. I understand sanctions do have a very bad impact on children and the elderly, but we have to find other ways of eradicating what is going on between Israel and Palestine right now, and to help Israel to understand that, look, you need to settle within your borders, you need to relinquish your control over the occupied territories, and let the people, the Jewish settlers now, realise that, look, Palestinian people aren't monsters. You will find they're willing to be your friend. They are willing to live with you. As in Britain, we live with Muslims, Christians, Hindus, Sikhs, Jews. Because all this racial and faith division, ethnic division, needs to end. We need to understand that we are human beings and we have human rights. And that's what Jeremy Corbyn is standing up for. That's what the Labour Party is all about. Forget your Marxism and all this type of stuff. We're talking about 21st century politics. We have to get human. If our politics aren't human, what are they? They're a monster. And, you know, I'll say it again. The only other viable alternative, slightly viable, is Joe Swinson. But compared to Jeremy Corbyn, what has Joe Swinson done to deserve a place as PM? You know, compared to Jeremy Corbyn. Sorry, no, she has not earned that place. Jeremy Corbyn has earned his place as PM of Britain. He's earned his place at number 10. And it is about time we gave credit where credit is due. And we either stand by a human being and stand up for our collective human rights, or we don't. Okay? You stand with criminals or their complicits, the Lib Dems. That's the choice. Criminals, their complicits, or law-abiding, human rights honouring human beings. That is where we are at. But I tell you now, all you people on upper incomes now, vast majority of Tory supporters, you're the ones next to be fleeced, because the poor of Britain have got nothing more to give. They can't fleece us anymore. Okay? They will be coming for you. That you will be fleeced. Okay? Understand that. Understand exactly what you're voting for. And I don't want to be the one to say, I told you, okay, because I will get no pleasure in that. In fact, I will be absolutely outraged at anybody who comes to me and, oh, I should have listened to you, because I'll just be outraged at them, because it's not only them. I know that it's not just them that have suffered, that many hundreds, if not thousands of people have suffered exactly because of their ignorance and their stupidity and their blind faith in what amounts to an antiquated ideology that is the foundation of the Tory party, an ideology based on eugenics, okay, and Nazi philosophy. I'm sorry, I have no respect. I will have no respect for you and no pity for you. Well, I will have pity, but I think it will be overshadowed by the immense anger and outrage that I will feel towards people who have voted for criminals or their complicits. So please, get out there tomorrow, spread the word, vote Labour. Do it for your children.